Okay, it's time to go again. This is the next part. This one is 220 millimeters tall too, so it'll be stretching the, actually you can see the top of my printer, the blue lines. I am 1.1 inch from my printing capacity, and I have to print it in this orientation to be able to print it on my little Ender 3. This is the orientation I'm going to print this one in. We'll slice him here. So far, they're printing well. I'm getting away with not using support. We'll see how this all goes. 1 day, 15 hours, 58 minutes if I've got it all set right. Here we go. Here's our seam right down the back. You see that? I did figure out how to manipulate that. It's in Cura. You come in here to, I think it's walls. Let me see. Walls. And then you would have to turn on Z-seam alignment right here. We'll add that to our choices. Now we have Z-seam alignment, and you see right down through here is that seam. And if we go in here and randomize each layer's starting position, they won't start in that position ever. They will be randomized throughout the print. I am not going to print it that way. The seam doesn't bother me that much. There you go. Now, I don't know if you can see it. You see all the little white dots everywhere? Little white dots. Little white dots. Little white dots everywhere. That's where the seam would be now. It's randomized around that print instead of being in a line. And because what's going on in that seam is the printer's not exactly tuned perfectly, such that it retracts at the end of a layer so that there's not any extra filament laid down there, any extra plastic glob there. I'm not getting a lot of globbing in that seam. It's just noticeable. These little white dots everywhere might be a little glob of plastic and just make it look bad. Plus, the designer of this did not tell me to do that, so I'm not going to. So I'm going to go back here and set this back to user specified. I did it a couple of times, and I have printed it like the designer intended it. Then I'll come back and do some modifications of my own. This might be one of the first ones, and I would see how the little splotches everywhere, you see they're gone now. All the little white dots are gone. Now, there's other things we could do here. There's a lot of seam manipulation in Cura. I could have made that seam right down the center of the back here by putting in X, Y. Into it like this. I'm not going to go much deeper than this right now. Right here, we could go seam X and put it at 0, and likely it would be right in the back. So right here is your seam control items. I'm going to turn this one back off. Don't need to see it because I'm not going to use it, because I'm going to be true to the developer. Okay, real quick, check this. Oops, walls 1 is correct. Infill, cubic subdivision is correct. Material 260, correct. speed 40. That's working well for me. Cooling should be 100%. It is. And I'm building it on a raft just to make it a little better. So it's already sliced that way, so this is my project. And I will start it printing. It's right about 11 a.m. right now. It will finish Sunday. And off we go, printing the third fuselage part of 5. It's putting down the beginnings of the raft right now, and then it will print for a day and a half. And that's how it's done. Got a little blemish in the raft right there from a little problem, but I don't think it's going to be printing that in that area, so I'm going to let it continue. I think it will be printing in the center of that. So sometimes that happens, and sometimes I start it over. Sometimes depends on what the little blemish is. I'll cut it out with the little side cutters that come with the Ender 3. But I'll keep an eye on it as it starts to print, and if I have to, I'll start it over. But at this point, I don't think I have to. Yep, I got past the blemish, so now the raft is printing fine. It's not going to really go back to that area right there. It sort of ironed it flat again when it came over it, so no problem there. Just a slight excuse me, a slight little problem that corrected itself, and now we go for the rest of the day and a half print. And it's just about finished printing the raft, and you can see coming back over this blemish several times, ironed it flat. So that's why I let it go on earlier, because I figured it would be fine. Now it's actually started the printing of the part, and you can see everything's going to be fine there. And off it goes. I don't need to follow it much more. It's just going to grow out of the bed for the next day and a half, and then I'm going to take it off. Thanks a lot.